Second piece of information I learned about myself, and this is really important because this is, I think, the primary trait that has led me to great success, and I want you to incorporate this into your way of being. For me, this is inherent and natural. This is not going anywhere. This is my actual true personality. But with many things, you can develop skills, you can groom certain traits in yourself, and this one I think is very much so worth grooming in yourself. Shout out to Alejandro supporting the work as well. So here's the second piece. I had an asset on the East Coast. You guys might in the East Coast in various places, namely Philadelphia, Baltimore, then various places in rural Pennsylvania. I have a number of assets on the East Coast. I needed to have an asset of mine shipped from the East Coast to the West Coast because I wanted to utilize it. And I hired some shipping companies, which the shipping business is a bit of a dirty business. Boxing and shipping, these are dirty businesses. You could ask about that later if you're interested. But anyways, these are dirty businesses. So I call up the shipping company. What usually happens is they'll put out, like you'll talk to a broker, they'll put out a number of bids, and then a particular trucker or shipper will pick up the bid and they'll ship the product or the asset or whatever it is. And so I had this asset, I wanted it shipped in a certain specific way, and I wanted it done quickly. And so I'm talking to the broker and they say, well, when do you need this done? I say, I need it done yesterday. They say, oh, I understand. They say, okay, well, here's the prices for doing it within a reasonable amount of time. Here's the price to do it urgently. I say, okay, great. What's the price to do it tomorrow? They're like, oh, well, the price is this. It's going to be really high. I was like, that's fine. Do it tomorrow. Can you get that done? They're like, yeah, we can get it done. I was like, fantastic. Send me a contract. I'll sign it and send me the payment link. They send all that. I sign the contract. I execute the payment. Next day comes. They call me like, oh, hey, actually, we can't get this shipped out today. I was like, oh. I was disappointed. And it's ironic because I was just looking through my journal. I keep a regular journal, of course. I was just looking through my journal yesterday, the day before I did this deal. And a sentence that I had rewritten many times is, how do you structure a deal so that the other person doesn't cheat, lie, or not deliver? How do you structure a deal so the other person does not cheat, lie, or under-deliver? As a businessman, you need to be thinking about this all the time. So anyways, I was like, okay, whatever. When can you get it shipped out? At this point, it was a Friday. And then they say, we can get it shipped out on Monday, guaranteed. Okay, fantastic. So then here comes Monday, and me, I by nature am not a micromanager. I'm not concerned with those kinds of details. I like to hire competent people and let them work. However, this is a company that I hired, and I don't know if their people are competent. So come Monday, I reach out. I said, hey, how's it going? They say, oh, it's going swimmingly. We're about to go pick this thing up in an hour. We'll get it shipped to you. It will arrive in 5 days, guaranteed. Fantastic. I check in with the person who's the steward of my asset. I said, hey, have they contacted you? Are they going to come? He said, yeah, they've contacted me. I'm waiting. Fantastic. He reaches back out to me and says, Marquett, you're not going to like this. They're not here. The time's elapsed. I reached out to them, and they're having X, Y, and Z problems. I say, okay, you're right. I'm not going to like that. So I reach back out to the shipper, and I fire them, and have a couple other words with them, unnecessary words, and then I have my assistant try to find another shipper very quickly and get the job done. Price is no object. My assistant is going through, having all these conversations, trying to get this done, and I'm listening to a number of the conversations because she's on speakerphone, right? And as she's doing this, I realize that we're dealing with a lot of persons who cannot make reliable promises, and I'm getting fed up, right? I have a number of things on my schedule, but I had a couple days that I can move things around. So I said to her, I said, you know what? You trust this guy you're just talking to? She was like, no, he doesn't sound like he's sure. I was like, that's right. I'm noticing that's consistent in this industry. I tell you what, book me a flight tonight. I'm going to fly over there. I want to take one business meeting in the morning. I'm going to collect my asset, and then I'm going to come back. I'll come back. And she's like, are you sure? I was like, I'm absolutely sure. Get it done quickly. So she does that, gets it done quickly. And it was pretty much the die was cast, and she didn't try to like question what I was doing or why I was doing it. She just cleared out my appointments for the next couple of days. And then we had a conversation, because I often want to hear the opinion of intelligent people when I have time to get their opinion, meaning some decisions have to be made quickly. You got to stick with the decision. You don't have time to question anything. And what you'll find often in leadership is that you can make the wrong choice into the right decision. Listen, you can make the wrong choice into the right decision. For example, say you're a two-sport athlete and you have an option of a basketball scholarship or a football scholarship. And you take the basketball scholarship, but the football scholarship would have paid more of your college costs. Well, you took the basketball scholarship. Maybe you perform really well, and then you go talk to the coach and you renegotiate and get them to expand the scholarship, or you transfer schools that'll give you a better scholarship based on your demonstrated talents and abilities, based on your stats. You can make the wrong choice into a good decision. Sometimes you have the chance to change your decision, and when you have that chance, if you want to hear someone's opinion, ask. People always want to give their opinion, and if you have intelligent people around you, you'd be wise to do so. So anyways, I say, hey, what do you think about this move I'm making? She says, well, number one, anytime you show up in person, anytime someone shows up in person, face to face to talk business, it's going to have a greater impact. I was like, that's true. She says, and when you show up in business, it's like a 5 times multiplier, because you can be a mean person and they understand that you're very face to face. I was like, that's a good point. And she was like, and also the last, do I think it's a good use of your time to take your asset and bring it all the way across the country the long way? She was like, absolutely not. Will you have it any other way? No. She's like, there's no other way. She's like, you're asking me, but the decision's made. You're not going to change your mind. This is your personality. You don't want to wait. You're not going to wait. You don't wait for anything. So I'll book the trip. I was like, okay, that's a good point. Sometimes I just like to hear the truth out loud. And she's right. The die was cast. And what I want you guys to understand about that is urgency. If you've been following me for years, I'm always reiterating urgency. Urgency always shows me who's serious. Urgency shows me who's going to get the job done. Urgency shows me who's a real one. Urgency, urgency, urgency. And I always, when I'm being urgent, I'm looking around to see who else is urgent. When I ask someone to do something, I want them to do it quickly. Not to make me feel good, but hell, why? Is core to my personality. I'd rather run than walk. In all cases. I'd rather do it fast than slow in all cases. And that is the number one thing that has made me successful. And a part of urgency is being quick to start, being brief on thought, quick to start, strong on action. Brief in thought, quick to start, strong on action. You know how much time people use torturing themselves in the mind, overthinking? It has been said you can have too much to drink. I like to remind that you can also have too much to think.